Well, for more now, we can speak to the former US ambassador to Denmark, Carla Sands, who joins us now. Great to have you on the programme. European countries are committing to spend more on defence. They're also saying that they'll do more to support Ukraine. I guess this is something that you welcome.
Yes, I think President Trump and all the American people welcome more contributions by our European allies. We need credible, real allies. And if you look at the NATO Charter, Article 3 says that every NATO member country can defend their own territory. Then there's Article 5. And then after they can defend their own territory, they can come to the defense of the other member nations. So we need our European allies to be strong, to have a credible defense, to fund it, to train their troops, to maintain their equipment, to make sure they're using, we call it fifth generation equipment, because the world of warcraft has certainly changed. We've seen this happen during the Ukraine war, the tragic Ukraine war. And so I believe that it's encouraging. It's sad that it's taken 3 years of the Ukraine war for the Europeans to actually say, yes, we are going to create a strong defense. But look, better late than never.
Look, I think many people would, accept that Europe could have spent more on its own defence previously as well. But Keir Starmer has...
If I may...
Can I just finish the question? I'd be really grateful. Thank you so much. Keir Starmer has increased defence spending and he said he's willing to commit UK troops as well. But he has asked for that US backstop. Do you think the US should provide a backstop to support Europe in the face of any further Russian aggression?
Well, so that's a lot to unpack. President Trump wants the killing to end. He wants the war to end. That's the bottom line. And Europe paid a lot more for their defense before the end of the Soviet Union and the fall of the Berlin Wall. Everyone took that peace dividend and put a lot more into social welfare programs and cut their defense spending. Now we're maybe getting back to more normal times when we were spending 5 or 8% of our GDP on our defense so that we had actual credible defense.
America doesn't spend 5% of GDP on defense, does it, right?
No, not now, but we have in the past. No, we took that same peace dividend. There's no question that there's work to do on both sides of the pond. And we appreciate that the UK has stepped up.
The question on whether America should provide a backstop, do you agree with that?
Well, I think I'll wait to see what President Trump decides about that. I don't believe he has any intention of sending American troops to Ukraine. And I do believe that it was really unfortunate what happened in the Oval Office between President Trump and his team and President Zelensky. But it sounds like things are getting patched up and back on track. And the killing has to stop. That the number one thing President Trump wants to see is the end of this war. He's right. We don't want to see the killing of the youth of Ukraine or Russia. That's the treasure of every country. So the killing has to stop.
At the beginning of that question on whether America should provide a backstop, you said that you'll wait to see what Donald Trump says. But surely you can make your own mind up. You're not just going to wait and see what Donald Trump says. What do you think? Do you think America should provide a backstop? I'm not saying about immediately sending troops, but to have that backstop in that security guarantee.
So I do believe that Donald Trump is the leader of the free world, and I would never get ahead of him because he's working with the best advisors. He's going to determine what the United States military does under the leadership of Secretary Pete Hegseth. No, I don't think that we should be in Ukraine or anywhere near Ukraine. The American people, the taxpayers, have been funding this war. Ukraine is part of Europe. It's not part of North America. This isn't our war. And if it hadn't been for President Biden being in the White House, I don't believe that the United States would have funded this war and it would have ended very quickly. And I'll just remind you, there was a peace offer on the table that Zelensky and Putin had both agreed to that former Prime Minister Boris Johnson went and scuttled. And I believe it was with the support, I don't know this for sure, but with the support of President Biden and his administration. So this killing didn't even have to start. And if a strong American president like President Trump will stop these kinds of wars, we don't want forever wars. Maybe the military-industrial complex likes it, but the world does not need more forever wars funded by the United States.
You say that you don't think America should provide a backstop, and you began by talking about NATO. And I guess for some people, they might think that the NATO Article 5, where an attack on any NATO member is an attack on all of us, the only time that has been invoked is to support the United States. And at that point, British forces, other forces from NATO allies rallied to support the United States. So it's not as simple as just saying that this isn't America's war, Europe should just sort it out, because isn't that the whole point of NATO?
Well, but it's not. You're really doing whataboutism. Ukraine isn't part of NATO. If the UK decides to go
I'm
into
talking
Ukraine,
about
it's very unfortunate.
Europe.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about Ukraine. The war is in Ukraine. And if UK or France
let me just explain, because I understand that Ukraine is not part of NATO, but we're talking about NATO countries committing forces, British forces, for example,
Yeah.
British soldiers, in order to try and have that, to provide the peace that you say that you want. Those British forces are asking for a backstop for them as a NATO member, right? That's the question.
Yeah, it's not the same thing. Ukraine is not a NATO country. Therefore, the United States would not be, there would not be any Article 5 invoked in Ukraine. Ukraine is not part of NATO. I don't believe it will ever be part of NATO. It shouldn't be. There were deals that we would never even suggest it was part of NATO, and that's all slipped. There's been mission creep, unfortunately. And I do believe that we'll get to peace, but we need countries like the UK and France, two powerful countries. President Trump just met with Keir Starmer and Macron, and we need everyone around the table to find peace, to determine what the peace looks like, not more war. We want the killing to stop. And so nobody's going to be happy with the outcome. It's not going to be perfect. Zelensky's not going to get everything he wants, and neither will Vladimir Putin. But it will be an end to the war. And we need our allies to help with the end of the war, to get to peace, not
Okay.
to ramp up this war with more funding.
Thank you very much indeed. It's been great to have you on the programme. Thank you.
Great to talk to you.